Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Health hearing on November the 28th. First of all, I want to do a roll call for the quorum purpose. Don? Here. Paul?
Yeah.
Stephen? John is not here, and Dan is not here, and Tom is here. So for the three, we have a quorum. For the first item is a proposed regulation policy. And we have three guests here, Dan Santo, Kelly Colliper, and Mark Mills from the town. And let me make a couple of remarks, and then we can start giving some guests making some comments. First of all, I had a chance to talk to Mark Mills, Charlie McCockland, and Thomas LaRosa from the town attorney's office, Rob Steen from the DBW, and Kelly from the DBW. We're talking about the last versions of the policy. With that comment, we make some changes to the policy, and especially I make a reference to the Barnstable Water Resources webpage, and there's a lot of information in there about the sewer connection, about the financing options, and very important, you have to look at that because there's 2 points I want to point out. One is the Barnstable County has the ARPA fund to fund the loan money to do the sewer connection. Second, the state has approved additional tax credits for the sewer connections, and it's up to like $4,000 a year. So the town residents can use that options to alleviate some of the cost burden to this system. So those are important steps. And the other thing I just want to mention, once we look at it further, for the last couple of days, Tom McKeon kind of mentioned that the Board of Health does not really monitoring about the real estate transfer system, information stuff. So, in the proposal there, I want to maybe delete Section 3, Section C for the realty estate transfer. So that would be, hopefully, it would be off from that table as discussion 6. So with that, I want to open up to the floor. Dan, you want to make some comments first?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Dan Santos, Director of Public Works. I don't really have comments. We've been working with you on this for quite some time, probably a year now. And technically, our only interest is in, one of our interests is in getting people connected to sewer, because the purpose of doing this is to improve the environment. That's the reason we're doing all this. So the sooner that people connect, the quicker we'll be able to start making a difference in our nitrogen, in our waterways, and in our groundwater, and in our estuaries. So we fully support the 6-month hookup time frame with the provisos that you've included here. Obviously, there are sometimes extenuating circumstances. I think that you probably will get a number of people seeking relief from what we've heard to connect, and I would just ask you that perhaps you should have some criteria regarding that, rather than leaving it open to whatever may come before you, particularly from a financial perspective. We have low cost stickers, for example, at the transfer station, and we have requirements that people have to meet, and I would suggest that that might be helpful to you, that if you had criteria for any kind of waiver, it would make your job easier. But again, that's for you to obviously deliberate about and figure out, but we're interested in getting people connected to improve the environmental situation, and also we need people connected to the system for the system to operate properly. We have to have connections into the system.
Right. Thank you, Dan. I think we all fully support trying to make the system running, collecting the sewer away from the groundwater discharge from the septic systems that would save the nitrogens and so forth. So, Mark, you want to make any comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We also support the policy for the same reasons that Director Santos just mentioned. But I just want to reiterate that for those who need financial assistance to provide for to cover the cost of the connection, that the Aqua Fund is available. It's the best tool available. They provide low interest, down to 0% interest, as a matter of fact. It all depends upon the income of the individual applying for the loan through the Aqua Fund. It's a sliding scale based on income level. I think it's anywhere from 0 to 4%. And speaking with the program manager at the county, they have plenty of money. They're well capitalized. So I don't think funding availability is going to be an issue immediately. 5, 10 years from now, they may need a reinfusion of capital from the state. For example, that's how they were originally capitalized, is through the SRF program at state level. So that program is the best option available to homeowners if they can't afford to pay for the connection cost out of pocket, or if they don't have, the money in savings, for example, or a home equity line. They do have that option. To back that up, if in the event that that funding does not become available, I've never heard of them turning anybody away also. But if they weren't eligible for some reason, lack of funding, income level, we can be a backstop for a homeowner in that we can finance the connection cost and add that cost to the tax bill. Now, it's not as advantageous to the homeowner to do that because we have to charge a higher interest rate. We charge an interest rate that's our carrying cost, or the interest rate that we incurred on the borrowing of the funds to finance a connection program, plus an additional 2% that's built into our sewer ordinance. So it's more advantageous to a homeowner to avail themselves of that county program than it would be of the town's program, but we would be like the final final backstop, so to speak, for an individual if they needed funding to cover their connection cost.
Thank you, Mark. In my conversations with the county loan officer, she also mentioned that I asked about how long does it take to approve the applications, and she said only a few days, and then you're done. You can get the funding right away. And if somehow there is, your project got extended for, a year or something, they still be honored for that in terms of the applications. Unless it's extremely long, then they may ask you to apply to put a new application in, but the processing time will be very short. So just for another comfort level that I was talking to them. Kelly, do you want to have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, really just to echo what Director Santos said, a huge part of my role, obviously, as the communications manager for DPW is communicating about the CWMP and ultimately about sewer connection. So one of the #1 questions I'm asked in my conversations with residents and business owners is, what is the connection policy? How long am I going to have to connect? Am I required to connect? So, of course, having this policy in place is a wonderful feature because it allows me to answer those questions, but also we have had at DPW a sewer connection handbook in development for about a year now, and this policy is really the final capstone piece to being able to complete that guide and have that resource available to communicate to the public ahead of our first anticipated connections this spring.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, the public need more information because, I have to go to the Barnstable, water resource website to find the information. It's very, for me to be handy to go up to the site and find the information, but the other citizen may not be that handy to go to the website and find the information. So it's important to get the transparency, to get the information out to them. So any questions from the board members to Dan, Kelly, and Mark? Steve?
Yes, I have a comment. My wife and I have an IA septic. It what comes out has almost 0 nitrogen and phosphate. I would maintain that pumping that into a sewer is a waste of drinking water and of the electricity it takes to pump it. It doesn't make sense. So I know there's a town code it says I have to connect. But in my situation, it seems counterproductive, both for the town and the environment, for me to do so. What do you say, Mr. Santos?
Well, relative to IA systems, I'm not sure that any of them, you say yours is 0 nitrogen?
Nitrogen and phosphate both. It's a Fuji clean.
What was the last thing you said? It was,
Fuji Clean.
okay.
So let me,
And these are accepted for general use?
no,
Or
this
is it
is a
a
pilot.
provisional?
Fuji Clean is the first, his unit is the first in the town as a pilot testing model stuff. So to me is, the board is going to look at case-by-case basis on your IA system and your performance, and the performance of the nitrogen and phosphorus. And then depending on the location of your IA systems, then we'll make a determination case-by-case basis rather than, a strict.
General rule
Yeah.
of thumb. Yeah, we'll look at each case. We'll ask for 8 test samples for the past 2 years.
Right.
Look at all the results, look at where it's located, what does it affect as far as the environment. There's a lot of factors to look at for each case, yes.
Because
Yes,
all-
and zero, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, obviously, 0 discharge of nitrogen or phosphate is a fantastic system if that's can be a standard that can be maintained. And obviously, our intent is to eliminate nitrogen.
Right.
And that's why there's been a lot of concern about IA systems, because none of them to date, particularly the ones that are approved, don't come anywhere near 0.
No.
And because of that, to use them doesn't solve the problem. Because in many of our watersheds, we have to remove 100% of the nitrogen. So if any is allowed to remain, that means we have to sewer more homes to accommodate the nitrogen that remains from those homes.
Right.
But, so I think your approach makes sense for those few that would be discharging 0. And hopefully there'll be more systems that'll be approved in the future that reach that kind of level of treatment.
Well, this is only my personal opinion. I don't think that Fuji Clean would be 0 for nitrogens. I have not seen any system that can remove 0 for nitrogen-wise. That level, nobody can do that. Even wastewater plant cannot do that. So I cannot believe that. But it will be low nitrogen on the effluent side. The only advantage your system would be a phosphorus removal. Right now, IA system is not designed specifically for removing phosphorus. So for that particular one we're still in the very early stage in terms of phosphorus removal for that. So
Well, and it also doesn't, well, I don't know, but many of these systems can't deal with other contaminants of emerging concern or PFAS,
Yep.
Things like that, that ultimately, in my opinion, are going to be regulated.
Right.
It may be some time, but the wastewater treatment plant at least is a central location where we can deal with those things, which would be much more difficult in on-site systems.
Right. Yeah, we only talk about nitrogen and phosphorus right now. All the all the other parameters, it's outside of this discussion because we don't know how the regulations come around on this one. So, any other question from the board?
Well, we talked, Tom and I had exchanged emails where I was concerned about phosphorus with the IA systems, and so Tom said, we intend to do them case by case. So it's around the lakes, if they don't remove the phosphorus, it doesn't help.
Right. Tom, do you have any comment?
No, I'm fine with the draft as is or as amended, as proposed. My concern about the real estate was the fact that right now we don't have a good system for tracking. Even through the assessors, there's a time delay of months before we find out if real estate transferred. So that it's an issue to have a 6-month deadline if we're not able to track
Right.
every real estate transfer. That was my only concern.
Okay. Well, thank you all for the, for the brief discussion on this, because I'm going to take this into December, so that we have more member coming on in December meeting, and then we can vote for this to finalize the policy.
You know, I owned buildings in 2 towns that were septic and became sewer. In each town, Chelmsford and New London, New Hampshire, require you to hook up as soon as the pipe in front of your house was working. So this is very fair, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just so everybody knows, the next Board of Health meeting is
December the
Tuesday.
19th.
December 19th at 3 o'clock. We hope that this will move forward at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next on the agenda is the variant request. The first one is John O'Day, Sullivan Engineering, representing Vincent and Jane Piera, owner, 29 Little Island Drive, Osterville, maps parcel 093-058-005, 1.3 acres of parcel, requesting septic variance for setbacks of existing septic systems to proposed pool. John?
Good afternoon, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. This is a property on Little Island. There's an existing dwelling and an existing guest house accessory structure. There are 2 existing septic systems on the property, and we are proposing or hoping not to have to touch either one of those. Owners are looking to install a pool in the backyard. The pool would be located 11 feet away from the leaching field of the main house, which is a variance that I believe could have been an over-the-counter variance, but the separation to the leaching for the guest house is of approximately 5 feet, which they cannot handle over the counter, and so we are here before you for that. I would say it's my opinion that this isn't an environmental variance or a health variance. This is really a potential construction impacts setback, and the owners and the contractors will certainly be made aware that they need to take extra care in doing this work, and that the system is at their own risk. But I think that that's a quick summary of why we're here this afternoon.
Thanks, John. Staff comment?
Staff has no objections.
Any public comment on this? None? Comment from the member? None?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's approved.
Thank you very much.
You want a plan back?
No, I'm good,
Okay.
thank you. Appreciate it.
The second one is Dan Ojala, Down Cape Engineering, representing Diana Loffenquist and Angela Breinholt, owner, 94 Pondview Drive, Centerville, map parcels 229-038-34 square foot lot. House addition requesting for a variance from a multi-compartment tank replacement, sites to be connected to the town sewer within 5 years. This is withdrawn.
Staff has no objections either way. We suggested it be withdrawn because Brian Dudley, when he was employed at DEP, he's since retired, I understand, but he suggested that it's a 2-compartment tank is not required unless work is being done at the system, and so I'm saying there's 2 criteria. Work needs to be done to the septic system, and number 2, there's 2 separate dwelling units. In this case, you only have one of the 2 criteria.
Okay.
That's why we didn't feel a variance was necessary, and so we suggested they withdraw. But
Okay. Thank you, Tom. The next one is Scott Mitchell's Longfellow Design Built, representing Doug and Sarah McDonald, owner, 91 Morris Edge, Marston's Mill, 63081 square feet parcel. requesting to perform soil evaluation at the time of septic expansion. Scott?
Yes, how are you?
Not bad.
Yep, for the record, Scott Kelly from Longfellow Design Build.
Do you want to make sure your mic is on?
There we go, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Again, for the record, Scott Michelli from Longfellow Design Builds, representing Doug and Sarah McDonald. The McDonalds have contracted with Longfellow. They want to put an addition on the home to increase the bedroom count from 3 to 4 bedrooms. The lot size is 80,000 square feet or so, so it has the adequate size to handle a larger septic system. The system was last upgraded in the year 2000. They eliminated an existing leaching pit and went to 4 infiltrator chambers. At that time, there's no record in the file that there was any soil testing done. Older records indicate the perk rate's 2 minutes an inch. And after consulting with Tom, we just felt like we could do the soil testing at the same time that we're enlarging the leach field to accommodate that extra bedroom. The leach field right now is in the middle of their driveway, so if we had to go dig it up right now, it'd just be an inconvenience, so that's the request.
Okay. Staff, any comment?
No, we just had questions about, staff had questions about why couldn't a perk test be done? That's the only questions we had about this.
Any public comment on this one? That is the same question that I have myself this morning when I look at the applications. Can you do another perk test away from the driveway so that you have the information right away instead of waiting for, you dig up the driveway and then you do the perk test and then suddenly you find out a different soil material. Then you are sitting back and trying to figure out what is the permitted, design capacity and so forth. So that's the only question I have in my mind, whether that is doable or not away from the driveway, so then you're not damaging your driveway and rebuild it again.
On the town website, the drawing of the septic system shows the 4 pits or whatever it is there, infiltrators, are off the driveway. The drawing shows the septic tank and the D-box in front of the house, and then goes across the driveway, and then the leaching part is off the driveway. And I got a copy of it right here, if you want to look at it.
Can you, you said we had a conversation on the phone, correct? Can
Yeah.
you remind me what we talked about before this perk test came up? Because I'm trying to remember what the whole conversation, it was more than just the perk test, wasn't it, when you first called? It was the design of the addition? I'm trying to remember what the issues were. It wasn't just this issue, if I remember correctly, right? There were some other questions you had?
Yeah, at the time, I think we just wanted to understand the process, the fact that, the plan was, I wanted to make sure before we went down this road that we knew that there were 4 infiltrators installed in 2000, and what we wanted to do was to expand the leach field, put another row of infiltrators in to accommodate the extra bedroom, but I also wanted to ask, the main reason I think I called you, Tom, was to clarify, whether the existing septic tank needed to stay or could stay, or whether we were going to have to replace that.
The existing tank is a 1,000-gallon tank.
I understand.
Huh?
So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
could-
Oh, yes, I understand.
So that could be the issue, that you may have to replace the tank, depending what that is. One extra bedroom is 440 times 2, 6, 8, so 1,000 could be, but the lease regulation is minimum of 1,500.
Right. But in the past, we've allowed the tank to stay and just upgrade the leaching, and that's what we've allowed in the past, if it's
Okay.
just,
Okay.
I believe that's what we talked about, right?
Correct.
But the staff reviewed your request about the perk test, and they had a question as to why because it's an additional bedroom, why couldn't another perk test be done?
We can. It was just a conversation that came up between me and Tom.
Right.
Where we had heard that this request had been granted previously.
That's true.
And it more was just to save the clients, it's really just a money thing. If you say you want me to do a perk test, I will absolutely do a perk test. It just was mobilizing twice, right? We're gonna have to go out, bring an excavator out, do the perk test, demobilize, design the plan, submit it, then come all the way back out and do it. So if this board feels like we should do it in advance, I'm not gonna object. I'm okay with that approach.
Well, I think so. I think we've done that in the past. I mean, we've requested the test to be done.
What's the extra cost?
You need an excavator for 4 hours.
At least, yeah.
Right, so it's probably 125 an hour, so it's like $500, mobilize out there, a couple $100. It might be $1,500, $2,000, somewhere in that range.
Do you get, is the information that different than what you would?
Well, not
Is
really.
it a cost-effective thing to do?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. And from the engineering standpoint, I like to do the perk test, know exactly what I'm facing with in terms of the soil. And then with the design, and then I can give it to you. And then I can give it to you, you can construct the review and be done.
Sure.
But if you go to just dig it when you are doing the constructions, at that time, as you know right away, right now, you want to find an engineer to give you the design, you can sit and wait for 2 months before they can get back to you. Then what happened to you? The perk, you did your perk test, yeah, but you don't have the information to install the system, so you're still sitting, waiting. So it's nothing that can help you. That's my
That's the
point.
risk.
That's a risk.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the safest point to do the perk test, get the soil information, to get the design done, and then you can do the proper design and constructions. That's my recommendations.
Well, I make that motion, unless someone else wants to talk.
I just want to make a point that
Yeah,
this board has granted this variance in the past, as you're aware. Even a whole new house construction, if you remember right, not just a bedroom. But just wanted to leave it at that. So it could go either way. Staff has no objections either way.
no, I understand that. This is only my personal opinion. I mean, as an engineer, you want to call me right now and say, well, can you go and look at the perk test and give me the design stuff? I said, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now. I cannot just jump and drop everything else and then give you the design on this stuff. That's my perspective, so. Someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we do what you just explained, have the test done, and then you know what you're dealing with. If nothing was done in, what was the year, 2000 or 2006? I mean, there was maybe no soil test on that either, so you don't know what you're dealing with.
Right. So you make the motions?
Motion.
Any second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Do your perk test, get your design done, and then you're all set.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. It's nothing against you, it is just
No, I understand.
logistic-wise.
Yeah.
What is the best way to do it, that's all.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Yep. The next one is the secondary treatment unit, Cape and Island Engineering representing Jeffrey Domino and Maria Apps, owner, 55 Papaneset Road, Conduit Maps, parcel 035-002, 33,541 square feet parcel in saltwater estuary protection zone, proposing using a micro-fast 0.5 IA septic system and requesting a variance from saltwater estuary protection regulation to allow 4 bedrooms in lieu of 3. Hello. What's your first name, Mark?
Good afternoon, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm here to represent Jeff DiNardo at 55 Pompanesett Road. Yeah, so we are seeking a variance to go from 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms on a 35,313 square foot lot. This lot is in Katuitt. It's up at elevation about 37, and there's no buffer zones to wetlands or anything on that lot. We are proposing a IA system. I did provide nitrogen loading calcs. Basically, we feel the environment could be better served by allowing some incentive to a 4-bedroom and installing an IA at the site versus a standard Title V 3-bedroom system. Especially based on the calculations, the loading should be lower with the IA system in 4 bedrooms. And we're just seeking relief from the board to be able to move forward with a 4-bedroom system with IA instead of a 3-bedroom without IA.
Thank you for proposing the IA systems. Staff comment?
The latest update today from the health staff is they've addressed most of the concerns, but we still are missing floor plans for the second floor, which shows rooms that are called lofts, et cetera. We need floor plans before this can be approved.
Do you think you can provide that to
We
the
can.
staff to look at?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely the intent is to be a 4-bedroom house, so yes, we can provide those and get that confirmed precisely and just, make sure we're.
What's this?
That's the enclosed rooms that are called lofts.
3 of them are bedrooms.
See the enclosed loft?
Okay.
There's more than 4 bedrooms if you count each room that's enclosed, and you call them a loft.
Right.
So you have more bedrooms than what's allowed in that house. We're not recommending approval today unless we get floor plans.
Yeah. We should get the floor plan so that we just want to make sure that we have the proper informations to make the final determination.
When you do that, can you make them a little bigger so we can read the numbers?
Okay, yeah, we can
I
provide
used
full,
a magnifying glass and I still had trouble.
we can provide full-size floor plans and, document that there's either, I think it was a suggestion from staff or if either 9 total rooms, so you divide by 2 to get to the 4-bedroom design, or, and obviously just show a 4-bedroom house properly.
Right.
Yeah, that's what she said, that if you label the rooms as bedrooms and the other rooms, if you're gonna go that route, I don't suggest you call it a loft.
No, no. Because
Okay.
for the Board of Health, they're looking at the definitions by the bedrooms. How do they define it? And then looking on your floor plans to make sure that you own determinations. So can I table this to December the 19th? In the meantime, if you can provide the information for the staff to look at.
Or,
What?
or if you don't wanna wait till December 19th, if you can come back at the end of today's meeting, get moved to the last part of this meeting and give us floor plans, is that possible?
I don't think I'd be able to get hard copies,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Unless staff can just review and document that we have the right, appropriate amount of bedrooms. I mean, the intent is to have a 4-bedroom property. If staff is able to make that determination, then, if you could.
Let's table this to the 19th, December 19th, to get you the chance to look at that information. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one is the variance septic, continued from September the 26th. Dan Ojola, Don Cape Engineering, representing Chef J LLC, owner of Virginia Restaurante, 4631 Falmouth Road, Conduit Maps, parcel 024157, 46,460 square feet parcel. In stage one, proposing to locate the pump chamber and leaching fields on separate lots controlled by the same owner. Zone 2 permitted for 100 seats, requesting for 115 seats, and the variance from using a regulated recirculating sand filter or alternative. Variance from saltwater estuary protection regulations. Dan?
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. For the record, Dan Ojala, I'm a surveyor and civil engineer with Downcape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping Chef Jay, and also, I suppose, the former owner out with updating the plans here. This is the Villaggio Restaurant, formerly known as a Regatta at Katuitt. It's been, there was a stage stop here back before there were automobiles, and then it went to a different use and changed back to a restaurant early on. I did find, just for the, as an interesting point of information, a decision and notice of a special permit in 1988. So this was quite some time back, but they said that they had 70-seat capacity with a lounge of 46 for a total of 116 persons in the restaurant. Title V handles tavern flow a little bit differently. They go 20 gallons per day per seat in the tavern and 35 for the regular. To keep this simple, I think that unless there's a strong objection, we'll just go to all regular seats. There was some discussion on exactly the number in here. Again, there's older documentation with more seats. I think it's pretty much conceded that there's 100 seats in here. It's a very important fact that we should all remember is that this property is completely on two lots. Everything is on Lot 2 right now, which is a 46,406 square foot, and that's the dark line down the middle here. What Chef Jay has asked for is the old owner had put in some gravel in hopes of doing some parking over here. But this is a residential district, and that wasn't allowed by zoning. And so this was a separate building lot, all by itself. 2-acre overlay did come in for just a little bit of zoning history, but there's a very important rule when that was drafted, and Dan Creedon and the others who were on the zoning board at the time will remember that that was only for new lots. Existing lots are carefully protected, so there's a rule in that ordinance that says that any lot that was separately buildable, vacant lot, does not merge and is forever buildable. So Chef Jay would have the option if we go back to putting the system under the parking lot, which is a little bit more money, and so he'd rather he'd rather not do that. But we could go back to that and then do a duplex over here with whatever number of bedrooms we can do on that as of right. And so next door, what I would calculate is there's a couple of rules, and when you look at a lot, you've got the 440 rule, which is the saltwater estuaries, and we're also in a zone 2. And I had just thought 440, so I proposed 15 additional seats. But when you do the arithmetic, the 330 rule is a little bit more restrictive. If you do the 440, we would get the 15 seats, but if you go 330, would actually only be looking at 11 seats. It's about 399 and change gallons per day. So if you do see your way to approving this today, I think what I would do is just submit a revised plan, knocking that down to 11 seats. So it would be 111 total. And so the big advantage to this proposal and why you might look at, variance criteria and look at it is that everything is on one lot now. You're basically more than doubling the size of the facility by increasing, he's willing to do that, put the leaching over there and destroy the buildability of that. And so all we're asking for is can we just at least get the flow that would be allowed. The saltwater estuary, I think, does allow some variances, but I don't think the 330 ordinance does. It's kind of one of those things that you don't normally give variances to. So we're happy to leave that at 11 bedrooms. So I'll nick the size of that leaching down a little bit. Staff looked this over. They did point out that we only did the 2 test holes. Again, this is Katuitt. You generally have very good sand. There was a little lens of silt, and about 40 inches down, we broke into beautiful coarse sand. So we can, if it's amenable, we'll do those other perk tests and have staff check it out before we pull the disposal works construction permit. The other question that we had looked at doing, we were all excited because we're in stage 1 of the new sewer, and we figured, oh, when's the pipe coming in next week? And come to find out, that's not quite the case. It could be 15 years out, 20 years out. Stage 1 comes after, phase 1, phase 2, phase 2A, and then stage 1. So we got a little bit blindsided by that. But so we've introduced what they call the recirculating sand filter equivalent technology. And so what we brought in, we typically use a microfast, but J&R Products has a better mousetrap here. It's the STAAR system, the STAR system. Staff was diligently looking at it, and we did find an updated DEP approval memo for them. They're considered engineered systems once they go over 4.5, and those are generally just the thousands of gallons per day that they can handle. But this is oversized because you get a fairly good strength of flow out of a restaurant. So we want to knock down the TSS, the BOD, and the nitrogen. And so they've got a second processor. So it's 2 processors in series after a big primary tank. We've got an oversized grease trap. And then the secondary tank, the operating level in these, it's basically a submerged filter and a trickling filter in one. And there's a number of different air intakes and pump backs. So they can fine-tune the process, and then it's a denitrification all the way back up to the head of the works. Once you nitrify, you denitrify, you put it back up there, and the nitrified effluent goes septic, and the anoxic area, the facultative bacteria strips off the nitrogen and off gases, or they strip off the oxygen because that's what they're looking for, and off gases the nitrogen, and so you get a nice denitrification out of these systems. And so they've been working quite well. Mike Moreau of J&R Products will be involved in the installation and testing of it. But one of the interesting components is because these tanks are half full, they just run the discharge pumps out of here. So you've got about 8,000 or 9,000 gallons worth of flow if there's ever a power outage. These can be submerged. They're normally above water, but they simply just fill up. And so you've got all your reserve volume in case you don't have a backup generator. And so we just run those discharge pumps right out of the second unit. And that's noted here. They're 2 horsepower pumps. They're Liberty model, and the impeller size is specified. And quite simple design. One pump goes to one field and one pump goes to the other, and they alternate. And then there's just a switch so you can go back and forth if needed. So there is a note on here. I didn't want to burden you, but there's a 10-page PDF of all the precast items and the design specifications which go along with this. But those are made part of this document by that note. And again, it's a pretty straightforward. It's basically 3 8,000-gallon tanks with a bunch of piping, and internal to that is all the details that make it work. So pretty simple to the design we had before. The big difference is instead of the pump chamber, we've got these new processors, so it'll be an RSF or equivalent technology, so we don't need that variance. We still need a variance because we're dealing with 2 different lots. And again, the principal reason that we don't want to merge them is that Chef J has a fairly low interest small business loan on the 2 properties, and they list this as separate collateral, and the bank would not accept merging them right now. And so we'd have to go back and refinance everything at much higher rates, and that's untenable. But we can treat it as one facility if you'll be so kind as to grant us the variance to put the tanks across the line. That'll pull this in. It'll ensure that this is never developed separately, until sewer comes by in 20 whatever. There would be maybe some other options there. And by the way, we did go to the zoning board, and they were nice enough to grant us permission by special permit to park in that gravel area. So if we're allowed to do this, we'll dig it up, put in the septic, and then put the gravel back. And they did allow us to park over there now as a extension of what we're doing here. So it's pretty much nothing's going to change from the bird's eye view because this has been here for a number of years. The septic flow is, I think, allowed as of right, because we're looking at, we meet Title V fully. Again, you've got grandfathered flow, and then we're only adding a conservative 3 bedrooms per acre on a vacant lot. Chef Jay will be happy because he gets a few more seats, and then eventually, in 15 years or so, we'll connect to the sewer, and that'll take care of it for the long term. But for now, it'll be a good system operating properly. It should hit easily 25 parts per million out of the pipe, diluted by a now, over 2 acre site. Isn't too unreasonable, be better than what's there now by a long shot, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if you do have them.
So what is the total number of seats that you're requesting right now, based on the
So-
330 rule?
Rather than 115, we'll go to 111.
111.
Shouldn't that be 104?
Well, if we have 100 over here, again, not bedrooms, we're talking seats. So seats are only 35 gallons, so you divide the 400 gallons per day by 35. So 400 divided by 35 is 11.4, so round down to 11 seats. That math should be accurate. 11 times 35 is 385, so you can put 385 gallons on 52,720
Oh, I
feet.
see. You're taking the grandfathered number from what you have at the restaurant now, and then you're adding whatever the vacant lot is
Correct.
to your number.
And the theory for that is that this is already maxed out, and all the rules in Title V and everywhere else allow you to at least put back what you have now. Then no one's so draconian as to reduce your flow. So that's a given, and then what could we add? Just the amount that would be allowed by this new lot once we move the components onto that second lot. So it's another 400 gallons a day, but at least it's something. And then we are treating that with IA, so it's treating, it's 3 bedrooms per acre, which is usually about 5 parts per million, and then we're knocking that down by 30% or so on the nitrogen, maybe a little more. So I think it's a fair proposal at this point. Again, we're happy to work with staff to schedule those perk tests as soon as we can and get those done before we pull a permit. That would be a good condition. Other condition, the revised plan should show 111 seats rather than 115. And I will give a little more detail on the cut sheets on the tanks and so forth. If staff requests, I'd be happy to do that.
I know that, just so you know, that staff had very short time frame to review this
Holidays and
septic
everything.
tech system. When you add in the holiday and the 2 weekends, the 10 days goes down to 4 days.
Right.
And that's a major issue. The inspector really didn't have a lot of time, and she gave me a list of 4 items, including the test hole issue, no details on the septic tank and pump chamber. She's got the 17-page DEP book to read with all the requirements. So that's why it's requested to be continued, to give staff ample time to review everything before it's approved.
Would there be a way to approve it contingent upon staff review and bring it back only if needed at the next meeting? I mean, we could modify it, or it shall be modified if staff feels it's necessary. I mean, we've already continued once.
What
I
do you
don't-
think?
I think we're
One of
down
the
to-
biggest issues is number of seats. I mean, this document is from Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
I don't know how legal department, you don't
No,
want to use
I-
this document anymore? Okay.
Well, again, that's an interesting one. Again, we're not asking for 115, 116. We're asking for just
111.
just 100. And I think the 100 has pretty much been established over the, time period, wouldn't you say, as a reasonable number? I mean, there's
That's another question, because they added more seats when we removed some bedrooms, but then they applied to do a second time for the same reason.
Right.
And it happened twice, when it shouldn't have only happened once. Remember that
I think
was
the best way to do it is to let the staff take the time and taking your proposal right now, and based on that, to look at your design right now, and then have it continue into December the 19th, and then that would be the final. If you want to make a revision on what you're proposing right now, so the staff can look at the latest informations, that would give them give her time to look at that and make the final determinations.
Yeah, we had a pretty good discussion today. I think she's got her arms around it mainly. You know, I don't know, with the sewer coming and going with the IA, hopefully we wouldn't nitpick him too much on the number of seats. And you can always play around, again, Tom, with the number of tavern seats versus full seats. I'm conceding, look, we're gonna count them all as full service, but there's a number of tavern seats that I think we could arguably maybe even jump the flow up a little bit. You know, there's only one meal per day in this place.
Are you referring to the fast food section, Title V?
No, tavern.
Oh, tavern.
Tavern
Oh,
seat,
okay.
yeah,
We'll look
which
at that
is
too.
legitimate. I mean, it's the name on the sign, you know. And it's a 20-gallon per day, and so, you
Fast
know.
food is 20 gallons per day also.
Yes.
But that's all paper. Brian Dudley
Oh,
always
yeah,
said that's
yeah.
paper goods only.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Consider.
taverns more drinks, so, you know, it's less. But again, we could, you know, look at that. If that helps everybody feel a little bit better, I could put some tavern seating in there. Again, the sewer, when it does come, and hopefully it'll be sooner than, 12 years or whatever they'd estimated, that'll cure all these problems. But in the interim, you know, he's got a business to operate, he's a good member of the community, and he's willing to take a whole nother 50,000-foot lot and incorporate it into what he's doing, which I think helps the environment. You're doubling the size of the flow that the flow has to dissipate on, and making sure that, you know, you're under the 330 rule and you're doing IA over there, so doing everything that we should do for new construction. But we'd be happy to get those perk tests done and submit, and if that's what the board feels, I'm happy
Yeah.
to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's continue to December the 19th, and then in the meantime, provide the perk test and your 330 rule calculation stuff, so that the staff can have time
Yeah.
to look at that.
Good, excellent, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah,
December 19th.
December 19th,
December 19th,
yes.
thank you.
The next item is the foot variance, Aaron Webb, the daily paper on Main, 546 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Parcels 308-07400B, is requesting a variance to not install air curtain nor screens for outside dining. Hi, Aaron.
Hey there, how are you?
Not bad.
Good. Aaron Webb, owner, along with my wife Samantha of the Daily Paper on Main Street, 546 Main. Just a real brief comment regarding the regatta. I spent many a day in that property with Brance Bryan, God rest his soul, and a good proprietor of a local business for sure, and know that property well, so I wish them luck. Anyway, so I am here before you to apply for a variance regarding outdoor dining permit. This past season, we were under the assumption from licensing that we were still within the COVID protocols from the state, so we were granted 4 tables outside on the sidewalk, completed the process of application and so forth with licensing, and then when the inspector came by late August, notified us that we were not in compliance with outdoor dining permit with the Board of Health. So, you know, after many conversation with both Mary Beth McKenzie, Tom McKean, of course, and staff, here we are. So my email to Sharon at the office indicated sort of the parameters of why we feel it's necessary for a variance regarding an air curtain, just given the makeup of the building and so forth, so.
Thank you, Aaron.
Real quick, too, I hate to interrupt. I do have some photographs, if I can present them, if you want to have a look at just sort of the front door and what we're looking at in terms of the structure, the glass, what might be preventative of us, you know, putting an air curtain up, so.
Sure.
You know, the building obviously has been pre-existing for a long time, been a breakfast and lunch restaurant for 40, 50 years probably. The facade is mostly glass with a small aluminum type stainless frame. Really nowhere quite to mount an air curtain as well as provide power to it without significant, you know, financial outlay on our part. So, Photograph 1 really just shows the entrance, the front photograph there from inside, and sort of the challenge of what it would be to put an air curtain. I'm not quite sure where. So,
Thank you, Aaron. Staff?
For many years, I want to say almost 30 years, this board had a regulation that required both electronic air curtains and screens for outside dining. And then during COVID-19, we relaxed all the outside dining regulations. You suggested I just go to each business and see what they can do to help them out. When that ended, just last year, this board revised the outside dining regulations, got rid of at least 3 or 4 paragraphs, if I remember right, Dr. Guadagnoli. But for this particular provision, they removed the provisions require both air curtains and screens, given the option to do one or the other. And they also added a third option. You could add another set of if you have doors in series, like a vestibule in between. So I just wanted to remind the board the history of this regulation. It's not a state regulation, it's a local Board of Health regulation. If this is something you want to change again, to consider but if you set today, this is a new precedent today. If you have neither option, this would be a new precedent. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any public comment on this one? None? No?
I think it may be a new precedent, but I think, as I pointed out at the end of COVID, somehow we all managed to survive without the regulations that were saving us from dying en masse from outside dining without air curtains. And I
Just so
I
you
would
know,
say the same thing.
no problem with, I just want to say, it's no problem with the people that sit outside. They're sitting with the flies, and they can do what they want. It was just to protect the kitchen and all.
No,
that's all.
and I understand that, but there were also, I mean, I'm sure, well, all of us live around here. We walk by that all the time, and it's not really practical. I, for one, would say, let's continue to move toward the realistic the realistic standards that we all have in our homes, which we also managed to survive in. And I'll stop there, because I suspect my opinion is no surprise to anyone. So.
Any other comment from the board?
No, there's no way you can put an air curtain there, Tom? Well, I saw the pictures, but I mean, there's,
Could you bolt it to the, could it be bolted to that steel frame and run electrical wire to the electricity? I don't know what today's prices are.
you know, it's gonna, sorry.
Is it close to 1,000 now?
Correct, at minimum.
Yeah. Anything you touch nowadays is 1,000.
It's 1,000 everywhere you go. Yep.
Right, right.
Used to be 100.
the cost is, you know, everybody else in the business had to do it, but I mean, I understand. I've been in this place several times, and it is all glass.
I guess I would just quickly add that, you know, obviously, I appreciate what this gentleman said. I don't, unfortunately, I don't know your name. I apologize. The placards aren't up, but, you know, we did survive clearly through the pandemic with outdoor dining. It is now the trend in the restaurant business. People want to be outside. It's adding a vibrancy to Main Street that has existed, but way more so now than before. We put 4 tables with 4 seats out there per table, so 16 seats. It's not as if we're moving our business to the sidewalk. We have an agreement with the town manager to be on the space. It's not our property, of course. So this is the same door that our customer base comes in. You know, so if we minimize the outdoor dining, if we say, okay, we won't do outdoor dining, the customers are still coming in this door, and not required at that point to put an air curtain up. So I'm not making light of it. I'm truly not. I just, for our situation and what the purpose of the variance affordability is on your part, is that in these cases like this, this is why I'm here. It's a, that's sort of, it's a, you as a board, you know this already, but have the ability to grant the variance per case. It's not necessarily a precedent, although I do appreciate that aspect of it for sure. And I do wonder, personally, if that's not something that this board should look at down the road for sure, because it's inhibitive, in my case particularly, to do it. But anyway.
I think the point is, to me, is precedent setting is very important. And if I set this as an example, that means any other business can come in and asking for it. That would be the problem.
That's a problem.
So that's my hesitance in terms of these applications.
I don't consider it to be a problem. I consider that to be actually part of the solution. We're already, we within the Commonwealth have managed to create one of the most unaffordable places to live in the country. And I'm not sure that we're benefiting by the unaffordability any more so than the people who are living in more affordable places where they don't have air curtains going in and out of
Right.
and especially in this, so I don't mind setting the precedent, because I think the initial precedent was one that was an overcall to begin with. I mean, if the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is not shy about regulating things, doesn't have a regulation like this, I'm not quite sure why we need to have a regulation like this. And, clearly, if we have businesses that we're trying to support and go up and down Main Street, there are empty buildings there. That's not good for any of us. And if we clearly have an instance like this where it is cost prohibitive to do it, in addition to being impractical, it's not just cost prohibitive, it's impractical. It's going to look stupid to try and rig something there. I have no problem at all granting the variance.
Okay. Let's look at this case-by-case basis and don't call it as precedent.
In that case, I'd like to make a motion to
Sure.
grant a variance.
Okay. Anyone seconds? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can you add a condition?
Yeah.
No, no ropes, rocks, what do you call those wooden things? Nothing that would wedge the door open
Oh,
be used.
yeah.
And I know that
The
you're,
wedge.
you would be good, I know you would be good, but in the future type
Right.
of variance, we want to make sure that's a condition.
The wedge, the door wedge.
The wedge.
no
yeah,
problem.
Or rocks, or chains, or ropes to hold the door open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, Aaron, that you're good for your word on that, but just want to
Appreciate
make that a
that.
future condition.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
I move that we consider at a future meeting stopping that rule. If we're not going to apply it, we should end it. And the next meeting,
Next meeting?
I so move.
At a future meeting.
Okay. Okay.
I like that.
Go ahead.
Obviously, I like it.
Yes. Yeah. The next one is body artist Bethany Harrisman, and is applying for a permit as a body art practitioner for body piercing at Pinchales, 600 Main Street, Hyannis, maps parcel 30X-067. She completed the anatomy and physiology course in 2021 and has worked as an apprentice for 2 years without any issues. Hello.
Members of the board, my name is Bethany Harriman, Cape Cod citizen. My name's Corinne Dean, I own the Pincushion. Say this February will be 30 years in the town of Hyannis. I brought an apprentice with me today to be licensed. She's worked for me for about 3 years. She is a very skilled piercer. She's very skilled at sterilization, customer service, retail, and I highly recommend the board to please consider allowing her to have a license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, any check?
Yes, all their paperwork's in order and
Okay.
looking good.
Motion to approve.
Anyone second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Have-
wonderful
Have
holiday.
you ever done a shamrock?
A shamrock, like a tattoo?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we just do body piercings. That would be an
Oh, you do
interesting
body
one.
piercing. Oh,
Give you a
okay.
shamrock.
We have a golden shamrock.
Yeah.
I thought you did, I
Thank
thought
you
you
so
did
very much.
both.
Does that,
Oh, you know what's a different
if that's only
name on the
body
front.
piercing, do they meet the policy on the proper training
Is it?
for body piercing?
Different name.
Yeah, she's been to our anatomy and physiology college course. She's done all the recommendations.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure
Yeah,
because
no problem.
the one-day training is only good for tattoos only. That's why
Correct.
I'm asking. Yeah.
Nope, correct.
The next
With
one
the
is,
30 years, I'm well aware.
the
Thank you
next
so
one
much
is
again.
Madison's Shelter. Applying as a full-body artist at Great Islands Tattoo, 12 Enterprise Road, Hyannis, Maps, parcels 293-045. Madison completed 17 months of supervising training under owner Bisela Thatcher with no issues found and had completed the body art painter's certificate through Save Each Life.
Tattooing
Madison.
only, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good, yeah, because that's just a one-day class.
right.
I have pictures if you guys wanted to look at pictures.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. I printed 7 of them, so you guys could look through
Wow.
more than just a couple.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Sorry, the owner couldn't be here today because she'd have to close the shop, but otherwise she would have been here.
Go ahead. Do you want to talk about your application stuff?
Well, yeah, her paperwork is all in order. She, she had applied and met everything and then gone through the training as an apprentice. And we did get a letter from the owner at Great Island saying she's had no issues with her
Okay.
training, no complaints at all.
Motion to approve?
Anyone second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Nice work there.
Yeah, really, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you do a shamrock?
I like that Celtic too.
Thank you.
The next one is the regulation and policy. A, schedule a public hearing to review and discuss proposed revisions to sections 385-6 and 385-4 and 376-19, revisions of deadlines to submit revisions, revised plans.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that I ask the board if it's okay with you that I schedule a public hearing either in probably in January at this point, because it has to go in the newspaper in 2 consecutive weeks before the hearing, because this would be a septic system related item, so it requires advertisement. But I'm asking for more time than 10 days for revised plans. You saw an example today where an IA system was submitted that was never submitted before. It was only 10 days, but there were holidays and weekends in between, so that ended up being only 4 days time to review it. So I'm suggesting either 10 business days, or you could simply just say 15 days.
I think 10 business days is.
We'll say
is a
10
reason-
business day.
Yeah, I mean,
Full
I
days.
think 10 business days is fine.
Yeah, yeah. You want to do that in January?
Yeah, January, and I'll put it in the newspaper.
That's fine.
That would be like a January 23rd or so.
Yeah, the 4th.
I thought you had those regulations years ago.
We have the 10-day deadline for revised plans, and I'm asking for more than 10 days.
Oh, different,
10 business
different
days.
than,
Figured out it came back to bite them when it was only,
Right.
when you had weekends and holidays in there, it made it difficult to, that makes sense. I mean,
A lot of time they wait until the last day and then submit, and then the vacation start.
Yeah.
That means you don't have a chance to look at that. And just like right now, we just finished the vacation and come back, and now it's Tuesday. So,
Yeah, was it January what?
I think it's 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah. January 23rd, the 4th Tuesday.
Okay,
Right.
we'll put a schedule for that.
The next one is the policy, temporary holding tank at locations where public sewer will be provided in the near future within 2 or 3 years.
I know that Chairman John Norman has some ideas for that. That's why he wants it on the agenda. And one of his ideas is to just use the existing septic tank.
As a holding tank.
Yeah, until sewer comes, if there's an issue. But just for discussion in the future, he wants to keep it on the agenda.
Okay, okay. Do we have a meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we put off the minutes till the next meeting so the other people can give their comments? Yeah.
They're very anxious for me to get these logged in. You could always add their comments.
So you don't, you want us to vote? All right.
Yeah.
Move to approve the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was easy.
Yeah. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
You know, on the filing fee on that last sheet, it says a non-refundable filing fee is required. On-site sewage disposal system.
Oh,
Do all or any systems need a building permit rather than just a Board of Health permit? Yeah.
This fee is in regards to variance request fees. And it refers to, the reason I'm suggesting this change, it refers, it shouldn't indicate a solid fee in this section because our fee schedule is a separate document. So when it goes from $85, it was increased to $95 last time, this section wasn't updated. So for housekeeping, I'm suggesting that it just take that part out that specifies the fee, so we can refer to the fee
The fee
schedule in one place, not having two places that you have to update.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why I
So
added that in.
No septic systems require a building permit from the building department, just the health department.
Well, this is referring to a variance request fee, not for septic or building.
All right, so separate from that.
Right, it's separate.
Do any septic systems that are put in, do they need building permits?
Oh, yeah, I mean, many times they do. Yeah, it depends on the work that's requested. Sometimes.
From the building department?
Sometimes it's both the building and health permits that we review.
So how does the person, a citizen, know whether he's gonna need a building permit or not? He wouldn't know until he comes to you people? You tell them they need a building permit too?
No, there's the building department has the separate regulations about that. So the carpenters and the
So
builders.
when they go to building department for the checkoff.
Yeah, and we're all on the same.
If somebody comes in for a building, if somebody comes in for a septic permit, they have to go to building department too?
No.
I think septic is septic alone.
It's separate.
If
It's
there is a
separate.
house modification to
septic.
go to that, then you need that building permit.
So for any septic system, there's no building permits needed? Just septic permit from the health department?
Yeah, it depends on each situation. See, we're both on the same, building and health uses the same computer system for permitting.
Right.
So sometimes it comes in where they need both at the same time, sometimes they
Why
would need
it
one or the
need
other.
both?
If they're adding onto the house and they need a bigger septic
Oh, they
system.
get but
Yeah.
that's for the house?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. Not with the septic.
that's what I thought of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it goes the other way around. Sometimes if they're having building, they also need septic.
correct.
Yeah,
Right, right.
all right, good.
Could I have a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourning at 4:15.